What's up? Welcome in on a Sunday night, but you're hearing this on a Monday morning, evening, maybe, depending on what your Star Wars vibes are during the week, I guess, and what part of the world you're from. But welcome back to Star Wars Newsnet. My name is Tyler, joined, I wouldn't say as always, but on most Mondays, I feel like, by my good friend Miguel, who I'm jealous, got to see Gladiator 2 already. I have to wait 6 more days before I can get my Gladiator helmet popcorn bucket, sit in front of the biggest screen I could find within like 100-mile radius, and enjoy all of the glory that I think that movie is going to be. All I need is like a 7.5 out of 10 in terms of spectacle, action, and feeling something, and I'll walk away satisfied, especially seeing it on such a giant screen. I think that'll enhance everything. So as long as I get that, I think I'll be okay. But I did go to the movies this week. I did go see Conclave this week.
Okay.
I did see Conclave. It was between Conclave and Honora, and Janelle said she wanted to go see Honora with me. She's out of town. She wanted to go see it together on Friday. So that's made my decision for me to go see Conclave, and then I'll go see Honora. I was a little bit upset. I wanted to see it now, but it's okay. I could wait 5 more days. But the problem is, and I don't know, Wicked and Gladiator 2 come out this week. So
Yep.
I'm wondering if Honora's not going to be, is it going to have any showings anymore? Or is it going to be like super limited? Like we're going to have to go at 10 o'clock or 9:30 to see it because there's going to be so many showings of Wicked and Gladiator 2. So I'm a little bit nervous.
Okay, so I have two thoughts. First of all, I hope I get a text from you as soon as you get out of Honora.
Of course.
Because as you know, this is my latest obsession. This is my favorite movie of this year, and I really hope it wins Best Picture. Even though I haven't seen Brutalist, which is supposed to be really good, and a couple others. Thought number two is actually a question: how was Conclave?
You know, I thought it was actually really good. Like I really enjoyed it. I went in. I honestly didn't watch the trailer or anything. I just read like a brief synopsis of it, and I really wanted to go to the movies this week. And I don't like horror or kind of creepy things like that. And that seemed to be what a lot of the vibe was out at the theater closest to me. And I saw that. I saw some of the names of the people in the movie, and I said, "Oh, that looks interesting." And then the twist it took at the end, I did not see coming
So
at
I've
all.
heard this from many people that the twist is like you do not see it coming. So I do not want to hear any more of it.
Okay.
Because I like I think I will guess it in the end if I keep hearing people talk about it. So
no, so it was good. I recommend it was a good. It's like it's one of those movies you go see and you leave and you're like, that's a really solid movie. You think about it for a little while and then you kind of move on. But you're really glad that that's one that you could go back and watch again, at some point, and be just fine watching it again. So I recommend, not pressing, but when you have time, you go see that one. Not a rush to the theaters. And speaking of rushing to the theaters, Star Wars is taking an approach of we are not going to rush back to the theaters, as we have talked for a while now about how we didn't think that December 26th date was going to hold. It just seemed like, going back to the strikes, to all of the issues going on for the last several months around some of these films supposedly in development, that just seemed impossible we were going to make a December 26th, Star Wars movie at this point, unless it was Mando and Grogu that got pushed back, but it's not, and it's holding firm in May. But the Rey movie, Daisy Ridley's Rey movie, officially not going to happen in 2026, as they pushed back any Star Wars title from December 26th. Rumors are they're shooting for the May 2027, which makes sense when you think about the 50-year anniversary of Star Wars. Seems like a perfect time to have a feature film. Not worried at all about that, but we're not surprised about this. So I know you told me many times you would have been really surprised if there was going to be a December 26th film. So I saw a lot of people freaking out, like, oh my gosh, Star Wars can't do anything right. I wasn't like freaking out at all. I was pretty much like, oh, yep, that's kind of what I figured. Is that kind of where you were, or were you more like, man, this is a little bit more disappointing now that I know it's true?
No, I mean it was a matter of time. This was coming, and like even if Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie was able to shoot next year, that December 2026 is very optimistic for that movie
Hmm.
as of now. Because remember, the script is not done, so they will have to shoot uh, probably a rushed script. It's not even like a movie where they have the cast like Rise of Skywalker did.
Hmm.
Like yeah, they had to cast up like a couple roles, but most of the cast was already set. This is has to be done from scratch. So even for that movie, meeting December 2026 was going to
Hmm.
be really optimistic. So it's good that they pushed it. It's like it's not really a secret anymore. And yeah, as far as 27, I wouldn't even call this a rumor, but I would call this like a major speculation that I think it makes sense that they're going
Hmm.
to have a movie in May 2027. And to me, the most likely candidate for that is Mangold, is
Hmm.
this Dawn of the Jedi movie, basically because I mean, I think most people are thinking of Simon Kinberg and his new trilogy as like starting in 2027. That's way too early. I don't think that those movies are coming for at least 5 more years.
Hmm.
Uh, and then it depends on the approach they want to take. If they want to like write up all three of them beforehand and then shoot, then it's gonna take longer. But those are not coming anytime soon.
Right. I agree. It makes sense. 50-year anniversary of Star Wars. Let's go back to the very beginning of it all. I don't know. Like, you could easily write a fun headline for that in terms of like a Mangold movie. But it is fascinating. You think about some of the Hollywood Reporter article that came out this week, just talking about how uh, much of a mess it seems to be to get scripts turned into Lucasfilm, and how chaotic everything is over there. And that's not that's not fun to read necessarily, even, but it is something that I think everyone at this point, given all the problems, like, we're pretty much aware of at this point, and understand that anytime we hear some of these like dates, and I've lost track, and I think you have too, of how many times they've had a untitled Star Wars film slotted in for date X, and that date ended up getting pushed back a year or 2 years. So again, not really surprised if they are unable to hit like a 2027 May or December Star Wars movie. That's when I think we start really running around with our heads cut off, because we're it's time to freak out at that point.
I mean, and there are a couple more things here too. One is that so Mando and Grogu is like almost definitely going to be out in May 26.
Hmm.
So having a movie out, another movie released 7 months later, it's for a franchise that hasn't had a feature film in theaters for 7 years by then, is maybe asking too much of the audience. So maybe it's
Hmm.
good that they're going to wait and see the reaction to Mando and then have them
Hmm.
salivate a little and then
Yep.
have a movie out for 2027.
Two last things on this before we get into the bulk of our discussion
Yeah.
today about some. We're going to talk about 5 years of Mandalorian, what that means for Star Wars, how important it is that Mando's been around for 5 years, and then streaming as a whole. But two things on this. One, I still can't understand why they're so determined to keep Mando and Grogu and Avengers in
Right. That's
in
gonna be my
May.
second thought. Yeah.
Like, I really I don't understand it at all when they don't. We could talk about Ice Age 6 being slotted in December, but what I don't understand why, because even for the Avengers, we have Fantastic Four coming out next summer. It just feels like they have taking their time on that one even and pushing it out and owning the Christmas time for Avengers seems like a better move than trying to sandwich their, two of their three biggest IPs together in 3 weeks in May.
Right, that was going to be my thought number two, is that then there's the Avengers thing to worry about, or to discuss at least. So what I think they're going to do here is Avengers, like Doomsday, whatever it is, 5, is not going to come out in May 2026. Just think about it. So Mando and Grogu is going to be wrapped by Christmas this year.
Right.
So like a couple of weeks left. So there's like still a year and a half before that movie comes out. And bear in mind that this is a movie that was shot in the volume, so most of the visual effects were done in pre-production. Then there's Avengers, which has like one of the biggest budgets probably ever, with I don't know, 60 movie stars, and they have to do all the visual effects after the fact, and they're gonna start shooting that in April, which is a year before the movie is supposed to come out, and 6 months after Mando and Grogu wraps. So the schedule doesn't make any sense there. So I don't think this movie is gonna come out in 2026. I think they're gonna push it to 2027.
Okay, 2027. So you think December or May 2027 then?
That's the other discussion. So what is the best place for that movie in 2027? Because if you are going to give Star Wars May, you cannot have another Avengers movie come out on the same month that you're celebrating the 50th of Star Wars.
Right.
So it's maybe the summer. I don't know. It's possible. Then there's I don't know. There are other factors there as well, because 2027 is going to be a huge year for Disney as well. They have a bunch of movies scheduled. I'm not quite sure yet, but I wouldn't bet any money on Avengers 5 coming out in at least May 2026, if not even the whole year. Like at the very least, the first half, it's not going to make it, I don't think.
I mean, we have, you're talking about Avengers 5, we have we have probably a Star Wars movie coming out that year, but really the big one of all, Frozen 3, that's supposed to come out in 2027, right. Which is, that's the one we'll be podcasting about the most here in the upcoming years.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, so the second thing I want to say, and this is less of a discussion point, more of a quick hitter, did you even know that there were, before the Ice Age 6 announcement, did you know that there were 5 Ice Age movies?
No. I didn't.
I didn't either. I remember seeing the first one as a kid, and I loved the first one. I even had like a picture book of that movie. Never saw the second. I remember going to see the third with my grandmother. Did not know. I vaguely remember that there's like a fourth one in existence. I had no idea that they had ever made a fifth one. And then when they announced Ice Age 6, I was joking, saying I didn't know there was an Ice Age 5. And then I joked around with my friend and I said, Ice Age 6, like that's gonna take the place of the Rey movie or whatever in December. And then like 2 days later, they're like, and Star Wars is getting pushed back and Ice Age is in. And I said, I'm sorry, like that's on me. Like I'll take a bullet for that one. I'll take the blame there, because I clearly jinxed that, and I feel responsible because I haven't seen Ice Age 5. I guess I got to go start binge watching my Ice Age movies to get ready for get my Ice Age lore intact before we get going in 2026.
So there was a point a few years ago when I realized, like, this was in my late teens, when I realized that the Ice Age movies were actually movies and not just animations of a squirrel on ice that ran before other movies.
I can't wait to find out what that squirrel's been up to all this time. Also, my philosophy, I thought the Ice Age ended like in like some of these movies. Like I thought like the Ice Age was over in some of these movies. So are we in the second Ice Age? Like I'm unfamiliar with my history, I guess. How many Ice Ages were there?
I mean, if the planning if the planet is heating up again, maybe we're going into the future, so we're going into the next Ice Age after the human race is extinguished because of climate change. So then there's going to be another Ice Age, and
so Manny and Sid and company will live for essentially thousands of years, and this will be the future, or it will be we're going to jump. This actually is good news, because if we enter another ice age, then we now have the makings of ice ages 7, 8, 9, and 10
Yeah,
that we can do if we enter into the second iteration of the ice age. So this is actually great news for every ice age fan
yeah.
out there. This is big. We'll do a second pod about the ice age movies. Okay.
I
All
think we
right.
just did.
Okay, enough on the ice age. That's on me. That's on me. So Mandalorian celebrated its 5-year anniversary this week, which is kind of crazy to think about, that it's been 5 years since Disney Plus began, essentially, because Mando kicked off Disney Plus and has been, the flagship of Disney Plus. We've said that, term so many times now, from that phrase out there so much. But 5 years of Mandalorian, and now 5 years later, we're seeing Disney proudly reporting their profits from streaming, that they finally have like turned that corner. We're making profits now. They're making gains, and it'll be curious to see what the next 5 years of the streaming, iteration and what the future of it looks like. But before we get into where they're at right now with streaming, if you could just encapsulate, like, it's hard to even put in words how important the Mandalorian has been for Star Wars in just as a whole, but even Disney, just to a certain degree as well, given how much money they've made off of just little Grogu merchandise alone. But how important has the Mandalorian been? Like, is it even calculable how important it's been at this point?
I mean, you were talking about the Mandalorian being the flagship of Disney Plus. I would even say that Mandalorian is right now the flagship of Star Wars. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's become, and on all levels. Well, and now it's transition even into a feature.
Yep.
But it's become like the one show, or at least the one thing that is working. And yeah, season
Mm-hmm.
three wasn't as good, but they still managed to get that season out,
Mm-hmm.
in due time. And they had an in between spin off, and then there's other spin offs, and now it's gonna be a movie. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, John Favreau figured out how to work under Kathy Kennedy and the whole Lucasfilm enterprise, which
Right.
nobody else has apparently been able to do. And even though like there were rumors a few months ago of Favreau being upset about certain decisions that they were forced upon him, of Grogu coming back earlier than he anticipated or whatever. Like the one thing that has been working for Lucasfilm has been Favreau and The Mandalorian and
I actually
everything
missed
surrounding.
that. I didn't see that.
I mean, I don't want to weigh too much on this, basically because it's all unconfirmed. Yeah, there were like some blurbs that basically Disney slash Kennedy forced Favreau to bring back Grogu in Book of Boba Fett.
Hmm.
Uh, just after at the end of season two, he went off with Luke.
Right.
We want to have him back as soon as possible because he is basically the face of the franchise right
Hmm.
now. He's
That's interesting.
uh,
Interesting.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Whatever you want to believe that there
Right.
was, some people say there was a fallout between these two. I don't know if that's true, but they keep working together. So
It can't be too much of a fallout if he's, making the movie, and,
right.
he's going to be probably around to help with, I would assume, be around to help with Filoni when he's making his movie as well. They seem
No,
pretty tight
he's
at the
already
hip and
announced as a
everything.
producer. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's pretty tight at the hip at this point. So Mandalorian, yeah, face of Disney or face of Star Wars for the last 5 years. Absolutely. You could argue it's the one thing that's consistently, been working as well. I would love to just know, these are like the questions I think of, like, how much money have they made just off of Grogu merchandise? Like, I would love to like have character rankings from like their stuff, like how many Rey lightsabers have we sold versus Luke lightsabers? How many Grogu backpacks have we sold versus our Ewok back? I don't know. I would just love like a breakdown of the merch and how the merch sells. I get fascinated by some of that. And even like just anecdotally speaking, we play this little game in my classes at school where sometimes like we'll name a category and we go quickly who can name something in that category without repeating, and they know that every single time we play I will use Star Wars characters as a category at least once, and almost always like Baby Yoda or the or just Mandalorian. They'll just say I let them have the Mandalorian because it's I just let them have it, even though it's Din Djarin. I always correct it's Din Djarin, guys, but I let them have it. But they almost always those are like the first two said. Almost always Darth Vader is usually the like one of the other three. Like, but that just I think even obviously doesn't represent Star Wars fans as a whole, but that's 3 years I've been in the classroom, 3 years now. And I could say that's consistently been the case amongst, all my students for the last 3 years. And, that's kind of a important demographic as well for Disney is, 12 to 22 year olds, like getting the young people like involved and interested in movies and shows. So like they're obviously reaching that audience to some degree as well. Like you said, this movie is it seems fitting. At first I was like a little bit questioning whether or not this was the right move for them moving forward, but the closer we get to it and the further away from that announcement we get, it feels fitting given how important the Mandalorian has been for Star Wars, that it make this transition to the big screen and have like its big moment, so to speak. And I also am excited because I think that it moving to the big screen isn't the only way that we're gonna get like Pedro Pascal's, the helmet to come off and see Pedro Pascal in, the Mandalorian again. But it feels like the best opportunity to get that as well. And that's when Mando has been at his best for me. So I think this movie is just a natural progression. It's a way to even test the waters for other things they might want to, do in terms of streaming and movies in the future. So it is really, I would say it's arguably like without the Mandalorian, I just wonder how dark of a place we'd be in Star Wars if the Mandalorian had not have taken off the way it really did.
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie is mostly Favreau and Lucasfilm saying we cannot get a movie right.
Right.
We cannot like, and I'm not even talking quality. I'm talking we cannot get a script in place
Hmm.
to shoot when we want to shoot. The one thing that has been working for us is Fabro. So
Hmm.
how about we actually turn to you and you deliver us a movie? And I mean that's I imagine that that was basically a dream for him because
Hmm.
he is a director. He
Hmm.
directed, the first episode of season two, and he probably wants to get back in that chair, but the maybe he was gonna direct one or two episodes of season four, but
Right.
kind of feels like he was mostly focused on behind the scenes stuff.
Hmm.
And having now the opportunity to actually direct a movie for theaters for Star Wars, that must have been an opportunity that he wasn't gonna pass on.
Right.
So yeah, I that 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 whole thing makes sense now. I was a bit surprised as well when we first learned about it. I think it makes perfect sense now, business wise. Well, business wise, we'll see. I think that movie may have a ceiling on its box office, but we
Hmm.
shall see.
I think
Uh,
I think the ceiling is, I would say it's probably capped to a certain degree. To me, I'm more focused. A lot of times with Star Wars movies, I'm like, how much can this movie make? Ceiling wise, I'm thinking, oh, what's the most? With this one, I'm like, I think more about the floor and what's like a really good floor for it. Like it needs to hit, this number, and we're feeling good. Versus, I think with Star Wars movies in general, I'm just like, we need to get upwards of $1 billion here. Like if we can get up there, we get upwards of $1 billion. We're feeling really good about these major films. And with Mando, I'm like, do not have those expectations. It's definitely much more of can we reach this height right here and prove like, hey, we can make a movie that can be profitable again. We can bring one from streaming back here, and it feel to some degree like Star Wars is back to some degree.
yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say that this ceiling thing, I'm less confident of every day. Like if you tell me that you can see the future and this movie actually makes $1 billion after things like Deadpool
Right.
made $1 billion, I could actually believe you.
Hmm.
If you tell me this movie made 350, I would have a harder time believing you.
Hmm.
So I think that like this could comfortably get to 500
Yeah.
pretty easily.
I put I think we discussed a few weeks ago. I think I said like 600 is like
Yeah,
my floor. Like if we can get to $600 million, I was like I'll pop a champagne bottle and have some fun. Like I feel
yeah,
really good about that. I think they would feel good about that too.
yeah, for sure. I mean, this is like a movie that came off adapting scripts for a season of TV into a feature film, and now they're gonna like actually
Hmm.
make some money off of it. So
Right.
yeah, I think so too. But it all depends on uh, going back to the Avengers thing. If they actually have Avengers that month, maybe one they care less, and two they have less of an opportunity to market it.
Hmm.
There's also the fact that I think that we were seeing this movie at the beginning as an entry point for, or rather, like a gateway for Star Wars back into theaters, and now, like, I'd even call it a soft launch. Like, this is going to
Hmm.
be, can neither here nor there. So they had the show on TV, and now it's gonna be a movie, but it's not gonna have the same scale or
It was
spectacle
come see
as.
this, and then if you like this, get ready for the big event, so to
Right.
speak.
And now then removing the December 26th date and probably rethinking some of the projects they have lined up. Also because I believe that Kathleen Kennedy is gonna step down and Filoni is gonna slash some of those things when he takes over. That's like my personal belief right now. Maybe that's not so much a soft launch as a full
Hmm.
launch of Star Wars back in theaters. But yeah, I lost where I was going with this. But that basically it is. I don't think I
It's
no
turned
longer think
into
of
the
it
event
as
now.
a
It's
soft
turned
launch.
into the event now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
it is the event, and I'm just curious to see as we get closer. Then the crazy part is, we have a full year and a half before this movie even comes out. Is
Yeah.
what does the marketing campaign for this look like? Like, how much are they going to lean into? Like, you need to have seen the Mandalorian versus like, what, anyone's welcome to come see this movie. If you've seen the Mandalorian, if you haven't, like, you're gonna be just fine. Like, I'm really curious to see, what does that look like? What is the what are the articles that come out about this? What are some of the press releases that we get? Like, how much in the teaser trailer are they leaning into characters that you should be familiar with because you've watched The Mandalorian, or is this focused just around these two people that I think most, if they focus just on Mando Grogu alone, they're not trying to work in like all the other characters we've seen pop up. I think that's what works best for them, because I think the general public, even if they're not watching The Mandalorian, they know who Mando is, and they know who Grogu is, and they know that those two are kind of like father son duo kind of thing. And if you just pitch a father son, big little, lone wolf and cub kind of fun movie, I think that works. Like, I think that works just fine.
So I'm curious. Like I don't know much about this, so I'm curious about the general perception that people who have not watched the show have of it. Because I wonder if they already know that it's not really necessary to know every single episode.
Mm-hmm.
That especially season one is mostly episodic. It's
Yeah.
mostly isolated stories
Mm-hmm.
where you don't have to watch episode three to watch episode
Right.
four. That changes a bit with season two, and season three like goes back and forth between both models. But if that perception has permeated through the general public, I don't think they will have a hard time
Mm-hmm.
believing that they can watch, the movie that is going to be out in 2 months without having watched all three seasons
Yeah.
religiously. So if they're able to actually convey that message and market it in a way that to tell people that they don't actually have to know
Mm-hmm.
every single thing that these characters have been on, I think that they're going to sell a lot of tickets solely on the adventure with Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I Mandalorian's always been interesting to me because I feel like I've seen people that are the diehard Star Wars, watch everything, are always into it versus there's people that the Mandalorian was their introduction into Star Wars, like to
Yeah.
some degree as well. So, uh, the power of cute baby Yoda. We'll see how powerful the allure of that little guy is. We'll see for sure in May 26th. Before we move on, what is your favorite? We're celebrating Mando. What is your favorite episode from each season of The Mandalorian?
Okay. Season one. I think I would go with seven, episode seven, which was the one before the finale that
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed. I think Deborah Chow directed that one. I think she directed three and seven.
And
I,
then that was when Moff Gideon shows up at the end and they kill
yes,
everyone. He kills everyone inside. Yep.
yep, yes. That was the awaited introduction of Giancarlo Esposito
Mm-hmm.
as this mysterious character that we had seen in the trailers and that had not popped up until
Mm-hmm.
the end of episode seven, and everyone
Yeah.
was like, "Where is he?" Yeah, that episode was good. Season two, I know most people would say the finale. I am actually gonna go with the Boba Fett episode,
Mm-hmm.
which was
The intro to Boba, like the action packed Boba Fett episode, or the one the seventh where they go
the
into the
sixth one.
Imperial, the sixth one.
The sixth one
Robert
with
Rodriguez did that
Grogu
one.
is like meditating on the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
asking for Luke, and yeah, the one from Robert Rodriguez, that the one where they destroy
Yeah,
the
Boba
uh,
basically just goes nuts on stormtroopers.
what is the name of the ship again? The
Boba's ship or
no
Mando's ship.
Mandos. What
Oh, the
is it?
Razor Crest.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, when the Razor Crest gets blown up. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I thought that episode was excellent, and yeah, the finale is good as well. But for some reason, I always stick
Mm-hmm.
with six, and for season three, I would say also seven, also episode seven, which I saw at Celebration,
Mm-hmm.
and that was very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Watching that celebration, and it was also a fun episode in itself. So,
Mm-hmm.
how about you?
See, episode 6 for season 1. That's the
Oh,
one
really?
where yes,
Okay.
that's the episode I've rewatched the most in all of Mandalorian. I love that episode so much because it was it felt I love just episode of the week kind of feel for Star Wars a lot of
I mean,
times on streaming.
you're a Star Trek fan, so
Yes, yes, big Star Trek fan. So I love this episodic storytelling in general, and that one felt like just a pure, amazing episodic, just pure episode where you know that these bad guys are going to turn on him at some point, and then watching him just hunt down each one, and the way that I think it's Rick Famuyiwa, does it too. The one where, with Bill Burr's character Mayfeld, and Mayfeld's like looking for him, and like the lights are going in and out, and it's like the red, like kind of like strobe going on, and you just see Mando approaching as it goes in and out. That episode is fantastic for me. And then as Grogu's trying to avoid the droid on the ship that's kind of figuring out that there's something to this kid. That episode is my favorite for season 1. Season 2 is episode 7,
okay.
where another I guess recurring theme is when Bill Burr is in Star Wars. I guess I like those episodes, but
And
when they
Family
go
was
get
directing.
yes, and yes, when those two are involved, I guess I love those episodes, and I love that one because I think that gives me the best. I think the best character moments for Din Djarin, and then I love Bill Burr's character, like this little monologue he gives about Project Cinder and yeah, Cinder, and then you have Din taking his helmet off, to get scanned. That's my favorite, and we get the seismic charge from Boba's ship in that one too. This is a nice little cherry on top. Season 3, it's really hard for me to pick a favorite in that one. Like, there's not really a big standout in that one for me. I would probably lean 7 or 8. I'll go 8 just to be a little different, just because I was I was shipping uh Din and Bo-Katan so much throughout the season, and when Grogu is holding back the fire and the three of them, like in my heart, I was like, it's mom and dad with their son, just like protecting him the whole time. And then when the Praetorian guards, um, actually no, I have to maybe I think I have to go. Never mind, I'm going 7 just because when they showed up at the end of 7, that's just so cool. Like that was
Yeah.
just so cool. But I do have a blast every time I watch Grogu get jumping around laughing. Like it's so hilarious that he's laughing while they're trying to literally kill him, and he's just laughing around doing his little flips. To me, that was the biggest crime of season 3 was not that they kind of worried so much about where they were going. They forgot everything along the way. It was at the very end of the season, like after everything Din and Bo-Katan went through together, it felt like they had become kind of like a trio, so to speak. And once Din takes Grogu as a son, it's like they never had like a moment to kind of talk afterwards, or
Okay.
like they didn't feel like I got any closure with any of like the side characters in that one. Like with Bo, I was like hoping at least there'd be some level of like, if you need me, you can count on me, kind of thing, or something. Like, especially after in episode 6, what it was, he's like, that's why I will always serve you, Lady Kreese. Like, no matter. Anyway, this is a whole season 3 monologue I could go on about different moments missed in that one. But yeah, that's a good one. It's all season 3 is just
A
it's the
mess.
definition of a mixed bag, I think, in
It's
terms of
very messy.
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when the first episode came out, and I was like, this was not good. This was very messy, and everyone was like enjoying it so much that I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, am I the crazy one? That
Mm-hmm.
like this is not what it used to be. This is much
Mm-hmm.
worse. And then a couple of weeks later, everyone was like, yeah, this isn't
Mm-hmm.
what it used to be. And I'd been telling them from like the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, but people were excited that Mando was back, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. It was, yeah, season 3 was tough. It felt like, yeah, we don't have to, we can do a whole podcast. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Mando rewatch. I did start my Andor. I couldn't help myself. I started an Andor rewatch on Friday night. I was going to try to wait till like March and then just do it like right there and then wait, like have like 3 weeks where I waited and then boom, I couldn't help myself. As soon as I saw that little teaser this week, I said, I have to
Oh,
start
that was
this as soon as
excellent.
possible. Yeah.
I was so looking for. I am so looking forward to going back. And actually, so I didn't think this would happen, but now I'm think it's going to. So when season 1 ended, I'm like, what would be cool? Because I haven't seen Rogue One in a bit. It'd be cool if I managed to hold on to not watching it until season 2 ends and
Mm-hmm.
watch this as the finale. And I have
Mm-hmm.
not watched it since. So now that we're 6 months separated from this season 2 starting, I think I'm gonna wait. I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
be able to wait and then just watch like season 1, season 2, and then the finale. Rogue One as a
I'm gonna
finale.
do that with Rogue One. Obviously, I couldn't wait on season 1. I was like, time to
No,
kind of
I'm
queue it
I'm
up.
probably gonna pop
But
it in as well, like in the
mhm,
next few weeks.
mhm.
Yeah,
With Rogue One too, I saw because I they when they brought Rogue One, they put Rogue One out in theaters
yeah,
in right before Andor, and I went to go see it again. And I took Janelle with me. It was her first time to see the movie, and she saw it in theaters, and it was, she loved it.
yeah.
So now she hasn't watched Andor, but that's fair. But we'll see. That's a battle for another day. I'm trying to get her to watch Mando first. So, but I'm hoping that I can hold off because I've wanted to watch Rogue One so much since the first season of Andor. But I was telling myself I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna like you. I'm gonna wait till the very end
Yeah,
after season 2 of Andor because they're how they've been open. Gilroy said it's ending with the shot of the scene of
yeah.
Cassian and K2 are going to Wabani to get Jin. So I'm like I'm gonna watch it and then boom, I'm gonna plug in Rogue One, and we're just gonna go straight into it like the next day or something like that. I'm with you. Like that's the best way. I'm hoping. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm my fingers crossed as maybe they'll like bring Rogue One back afterwards in theaters,
Well, I think
for
so.
like a
I think they
weekend or
will.
something, and I could go see Rogue One after I see Andor season 2, I could go see the finale of the
I mean, the
everything.
Andor schedule is gonna be also something to watch for because so I think they're gonna have also like the 3 episode premiere. Because I was counting the weeks that are between April 22nd when Andor comes out and
Mhm.
then June 24th when the Ironheart Marvel show comes out, and they're gonna have to either have a 3 week, a 4 episode premiere, or another week with 2 episodes. So I wonder if that'd be the last one, but that seems too ambitious if they also want to pair it up with a theatrical release of either the episode and Rogue One or just Rogue
Mhm.
One.
Oh, they did a theatrical release. Oh, don't tempt me with a good time.
I mean, it's
That's
not
too
impossible.
enticing. It's
And
not
there's
a no,
pres
it's not.
and unlike in season one, there's no precedent for Star Wars episodes being in theaters because they had Ahsoka, they had Acolyte as well.
Mhm.
So it's not uh, without precedent right now.
So why don't this segues into our streaming conversation we can have now. Why don't, and I've wondered this for a while. Why don't they partner with theaters and more shows, even partner with theaters more? Like, are they losing so much money through this? Like, partner with theaters more to show like more premieres in theaters and finales in theaters. It seems like they really limit who can go to these, theater screenings of these episodes, and then they never do them for the finales. It's usually just like the first episode or two, like the little premiere, and then no one gets to go see it again. Because you know, I have a movie subscription, and if somehow like I could, my movie subscription could also work to where I could go see a show as well, I would do that, or I would pay money to go see Andor's finale in a theater. Like I would pay money to watch that in theaters. I think lots of people would pay money to go see some of these Star Wars productions in theaters because it just feels bigger when you're watching Star Wars and on the big screen. And with Rings of Power, when it came out, I went to go see the first 2 episodes in theaters because they had one. I was able to get a pass to go see it. To me, it feels like theaters are struggling. Sometimes the streaming they want people more eyes. I've always wondered why they don't partner more. Do you have an answer to that?
I don't think it's as much as Disney not Disney being afraid of losing money as much as it is the theaters not being not wanting to do this
Yeah.
for a couple of reasons. One, it's if you think about it, there's like not many instances where a theater plays a movie that is going a movie or anything that is going to be on streaming right after.
Right.
So AMC, for example, is very anti-Netflix because of this. They will
Mhm.
not screen Netflix movies because they know they're going to be on the service 3 weeks later.
They
So
did. They did for Knives Out too.
that was the only exception, and now they're
Mhm.
gonna do now you know Netflix is partnering with IMAX for the Greta Gerwig Narnia movies,
Mhm.
but they haven't announced or haven't even said a word about uh, um, a partnership with the movie theater chains. They've said
Mhm.
IMAX, not AMC or whatever else.
Right.
So we'll see on that. And those are like the two only exceptions that come to
Mhm.
mind. So there's that. There's the fact that if you're a theater chain, you're like, so why would I dedicate so many screens to this show that is probably not going to bring me a lot of
Right.
revenue? And
Mhm.
and in doing so, I am taking off screens from other studios or other movies that could actually those are relationships that have to be
Mhm.
managed well. And if this screen is for this week is booked for Wicked, why am I taking off 2 days from
Right.
it to watch so that you can watch Skeleton Crew?
Mhm.
That's not really my deal with Universal, whatever. So I think it's more on the theater side than it is on Disney's,
Yeah.
even though this like then it'd be a different conversation if Disney would want, the first two episodes of Andor to be on 3,000 screens in North America. Like,
Hmm.
would they actually want that, or would they prefer for people to watch, TV on TV?
Hmm.
So that's another conversation. But I think that the first bottleneck is the theaters.
Hmm. Because I saw the Acolyte first two episodes of the Acolyte on the big screen, and that was a whole lot of fun. I mean, and it was there. Obviously, there were only a couple of screenings, but I got there early, and the place was packed. I mean, it was packed. It was,
Yeah.
and that's just two screens going on. And it's not like there was 20 screens. What would it look like if there was 20 screens showing it that day? Like 20 showings. I don't. It's impossible to say. But I don't know. I just feel like I think if you have some people just don't subscribe to Disney Plus and they're not going to watch, a Star Wars thing. But if, Ahsoka is out in theaters this weekend, some people might, give it a shot and then they might want to go see something in theaters. I don't know. I just want to go see more things on the big screen. That's my bottom line. That's where
And
I
that's why
I
they
would
made
go.
Mando and Grogu.
And that's why they made Mando and Grogu. Yes.
Yeah.
Where do you think streaming is going to be? So Disney's finally making like a profit from Disney Plus and everything that is included in Disney Plus because FX and Hulu now with the bundle. There's the Max Disney, bundle up that you can get. And they, have reported like their profits now and they're ahead of schedule on when they were wanting to churn profits. Looks a little different than they had previously, wanted it to be. What's the next step? Because Disney Plus is twice as expensive now as it was when it first dropped because they have their base, they're upping it up. The price. What does the future look like? What 5 years from now? What can we maybe anticipate in terms of changes? The next evolution of streaming, because it seems like for a while now everyone was really struggling to make some money, but now we're seeing people starting to start making some profits or reduce those deficits by a lot, and it seems like they're figuring out the streaming game.
I mean, there is a very loaded question for many, many reasons. First of all, as you mentioned, as you alluded to, the business has changed a lot these past 5 years in ways that we couldn't predict back then.
Hmm.
So back then, advertising was a no-go from the start. Then, Netflix reported major losses in 2022, and then they started going into advertising, and as Netflix does something, the rest of town follows.
Yeah.
So Netflix is probably going to dictate a lot of that. Now Netflix's major push seems to be live events, as they just did the combat last week. So I wonder.
Sorry that they
The
did,
fight.
but I think the takeaway from that was please never host a live event again. Netflix, just with
I
all
have
of
I,
the
I did
issues.
not tune in. Sorry, I
Okay,
do not
so I
have,
didn't
like,
watch either,
I
but
did
oh
read
my
that it
goodness,
was buggy, right?
it was it was beyond buggy. I think so many people online were like, I couldn't even watch it. Like it was just
Okay.
buffering the entire time. Or when I got it, it was super blurry. It was so they had a lot of people tuning in, but unable to actually tune in. So it'll be interesting because they have some NFL games coming up for football over here. And so it'll be interesting to see how those do because they're over the holidays, probably get a lot of eyes on them is there's probably a lot of pressure now on them to up the quality because if you mess up, it's one thing to mess up the fights. If you're messing with Americans and their holiday football, they're probably going to get a lot of people up in arms. So I'm curious to see how that goes. Anyway, but yes,
No,
you're
no,
definitely
I mean,
correct in the live
this
events.
this is important for Disney as well because of ESPN, and they're probably, like, they have some big term plans for that. I'm
Hmm.
honestly haven't been following much of ESPN. I know they have this flagship thing going out next year, but other than that, I'm not quite sure what the future is there. But I wonder what about the Oscars a few years from now. So the current contract ends in 2028. So 5 years from now,
Hmm.
2029, are the Oscars like going live on Disney Plus? Are they going live on Hulu, or are they going live on Netflix? Are they gonna be on linear? You know, that's a question, but that's maybe neither here nor there. I don't think that's gonna sustain
Right.
the business at all. But that where I think this is heading is basically bringing back cable. Like this has been basically what's been driving these companies for years. So now they've introduced, ad tiers. So now there's ads when you're watching Rings of Power. Maybe all of the sudden there's like a 1 minute ad break, or and they are, and it's not like it's an option that is just there, that companies actually want to push consumers into these tiers because they make more money from them. Uh, so there's the ads, there's the bundling now, so you can have for a reduced price point multiple services where you can have and even like cross companies, so you can have Disney Plus and Max for a, a, a combined price point that is actually not very different from the added values of both of them separately, but that's also neither here nor there, and it's probably going to change somehow soon. I'm not quite sure that there's probably going to be some more bundling. So I think where this is heading is at some point you're going to have like this website run by all of them, where you can actually just subscribe to
Right.
Netflix and Peacock and Paramount Plus, and for all these three combined, you get a fixed price point, and
I appreciate you including Paramount Plus in there. My number one watch streaming service.
right.
Me and
So
all of the 65 and olders. That's who makes up that
so
bracket.
this is also my point number two, is that how many of these companies are actually going to survive. So Peacock and Paramount Plus seem to be the two that could be on the chopping block, even though Paramount Plus is bigger than people think. Like this is actually quite big.
You're
Uh,
welcome, Paramount Plus. It's literally me
yeah,
streaming Star Trek every single night as I grade papers and do homework and fall asleep on the couch. It is literally, and I accidentally leave the TV running for 2 more hours until I wake up to turn it off. It is literally me.
yeah, and everyone in Middle America, watching Taylor Sheridan shows.
Which is my dad lives in Middle America. He
Yeah,
just finished Deep Space Nine on my Paramount Plus account. So let's see what I'm saying. Like we're getting the wheels turning together. Father like
right.
son.
So there's the question of how many of these services are gonna survive, which I mean, Paramount is getting acquired now, or getting the ownership. They have supposedly big plans for Paramount Plus, but I think we're like one or two very bad quarters away from one of these services getting slashed. At the same time, of course, Comcast also wants to like spin off their cable channels, and they also want to focus on streaming. So who knows? I do think that we're another big quarterly loss away from Wall Street rethinking all of this again. And then there's the fact of, even like putting aside the businesses going down, how many of these businesses are going to merge, especially now with a new U.S. government, a new, probably head of the FTC. That's probably going to be a lot more. Will probably allow a lot more mergers between companies. So
It's
is Universal
wonderful.
going to buy Warner Brothers? So is Disney and Apple gonna make up? What is going to happen then? So there are a lot of questions there. I'm not quite sure about Disney and Apple, especially. Like I think that's like a pipe dream, but you know, uh, we cannot negate that is something that's been discussed at some point.
I If we lose Paramount Plus, and I'm bringing it back to Paramount Plus. If we lose Paramount Plus, we, as in me and the 10 other people that are holding it afloat right now, if we lose Paramount Plus, and it means that my Star Trek it gets divvied up all over the place, I'm going to be inconsolable for a short amount of time because I've just been going one show to the next for the last 5 years. And also Survivor. I watch Survivor religiously on Paramount Plus every single week, multiple times a week. At CBS, why have you not contacted me yet for season 49? I'm still waiting. It's a struggle. It's a struggle, Miguel. My dreams continue to be crushed. But I am curious. I hadn't even thought about the changes with the U.S. government and how coming up and how that's going to affect even streaming and how it could affect all of us as well. That's just a whole nother nightmare to think about. So basically what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's going to be a whole big, interesting mess slash puzzle to figure out over the next like 5 years. But, you know, things are looking much different now than they were 5 years ago. So we'll see. It's
I mean,
basic.
yeah, I mean, so people care about making money, and right now they're making money. So,
Mhm.
and of course, and I mentioned this on the Sunday piece that I published yesterday, is that most of these companies are boasting profits, but they are running off services that were already either profitable or
Mhm.
already not their initial plans. So Netflix it remains the only true profitable business.
Mhm.
Then there's Max, which is now bundled with HBO. Under their financial results, and HBO has been
Mhm.
profitable for more than 20 years, whereas Max is still not profitable on its own, but because WB reports earnings on both services, HBO lifts Max up.
Mhm.
So now their streaming business is profitable. In the same way, Disney Plus and Hulu are perhaps, or perhaps they are, but perhaps they're not.
Mhm.
They used not to be profitable on their own, but ESPN Plus lifted those up, and so the combined of the three was in the green.
Yep.
So that is also like a huge asterisk there that still running on one show per quarter is not cutting it
Mhm.
for their profits, and especially as they're making fewer shows. And now the question also becomes: do you keep making one show or two shows per quarter to motivate these bottom line numbers, because you can actually run from library, because your subscribers are not there because of the new content, but rather
Mhm.
because they can watch Moana on a loop?
Mhm.
How much of your viewership, of your monthly or annual viewership, is actually new shows that
Mhm.
you're producing, and
That's a
how
good
much is
question.
old?
Well, thinking from a Disney perspective, they have, obviously you have Marvel and Star Wars, and they've been kind of doing this, trade off each quarter kind of thing for a while with, which one, does what. Eventually, and I don't know, we seen them really take a swing and hit on something here where it's something new, some sort of like new show, try to bring some new people in, give it a chance to breathe and see what happens, because it seems like we're solely relying on our two major IPs and we aren't really putting out anything else other than, I guess there's like we have a few like kids shows that are out there, too, but in terms of like the larger audience as well, I'm wondering, what else is there if you're not in the like Star Wars or Marvel, like why would you be
And
subscribing?
that's also where the Percy Jackson things comes in,
What
and
was that?
also what.
The what? The what show? What show?
This Percy Jackson show that nobody watched,
No.
and they just
That no
renewed
one
because of
watched. They're
pride.
making a season two. No one watched. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
They had to renew it because they had so much invested in it that it was just going to be intolerable for them to cancel two shows in a year, Willow and you know, what is the name again? Percy Jackson. I can't even remember. I was just saying it. And there's the fact as well that they're bundling this with Hulu, and Hulu also has some adult programming and
Mhm.
FX
Yep.
especially. And that's where things like, they just released this trailer where they're previewing the shows for next year, and they
Mhm.
have, they have Andor, and they have Ironheart, and they have Wonder Man, but they also have Alien Earth. They also
Mhm.
have The Bear season 4, and now they're promoting their like they are celebrating 5 years of Disney Plus by looking at the future, but in the future there's also
Mhm.
FX programming. And that's the
Yes.
key here, that if you're an
Mhm.
adult, and you can still subscribe to Disney Plus because there's programming for you. And
Mhm.
this next year is going to be, The Bear, it's going to be
I forgot
Alien,
about
it's
Alien
going to
Earth. I'm
be
excited.
Shogun season 2 for the year after, etc.
Mhm. I forgot about Alien Earth. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. We'll see. Skeptical, but excited. We'll see. Well, lots to talk about in the future as we continue trudging forward. Everyone, check out Miguel's Sunday Far Far Galaxy in a Far Far Away piece that comes out every Sunday. You won't regret it. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel here. Check us on Apple, Spotify, at Star Wars Newsnet. You can find us at Star Wars Newsnet pretty much anywhere where you're on social media, unless you're on Facebook, just SWNN for right now. And let's see, every Thursday night, Star Wars News at Live, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. You can check out the Star Wars Timeline show that I and my friend Luke do every Saturday, and where we break down the next piece of canon material. This last week, we broke down High Republic comics 1 through 5. Got them right here. Actually, still need to get them back in their sleeves. We're on High Republic Adventures from Dark Horse on next Saturday. So I got to reread those sometime in the next couple of days. So looking forward to that. Everyone, go see Gladiator 2 or Wicked this weekend. Support your local
Go see
theater. Go
Nora.
see Nora. Go see a movie. Just enjoy yourself. Unless you're going to see Wicked in December, hold off. Don't do it. Go in fresh for that. But other than that, you should go see a movie this week. Everyone, it's a good time for movies. Anyway, Miguel, thanks for hopping on. Everyone, for Light and Life, remember, we are all the Republic.